Hey folks, Jacob Walton here. Welcome back to another episode of the Jigsaw Blogs audio commentary tracks. Today we're looking at episode 8, which is the trap victims of Jigsaw. And shout out to Luke Hadley, once again did a fabulous job with this artwork you see right here. He really doesn't get enough credit, so if y'all get a chance, please go search him out and support him at Horror Poster Arts on his Instagram accounts. Again, Luke does a good job. Shout out to him. And this is the episode right here where we get to talk about all the traps that happen in the Saw movies. We're still in the exposition phase of the story of telling our narrative with Jigsaw Blogs. Last episode, we incorporated the Saw video games. And this episode, we're going to talk about every single trap victim that happened in the Saw franchise. I do want to clarify some things here. These are the episodes that we talk about with the characters that happen in the story that Jacob knows about. So obviously, Jacob, the character, wouldn't know about Dr. Gordon, wouldn't know about Logan Nelson. He would just know about the associates that work with Jigsaw that were made public. So he would know about, Dr. Gordon's games or Logan Nelson's games and stuff like that, even though I do give callbacks later on in this episode, as you see right here. So I just want to clarify for that right there. And this is the episode where we get to incorporate more characters, such as the character of James Bell, who is played by James Scavo. And James does a terrific job in this episode. Again, I love working with him. And this is another one of the episodes where, we get to dive a little bit deeper into the story and then continue that world building. So having said all that, let's get this started. Alright, just see the little thing there. A little beep right there. We're looks like in February right now of 2019, so about a year away from the events of Spiral from the Book of Saw. Well, I'm still in that corner. We still see little things right there. All the Saw 1 effing Saw 2. Again, we reference the Saw video game right there, as we talked about last episode with Brendan and I. Again, if you haven't got a chance to check out Never Return, please go do so. It's really good. So, yeah, reference to Mark Saw 2, Saw 3, still on Saw 3. And again, you could buy these photos that you see right here off Etsy. So I think they're still available if you get a chance to go to Etsy. Some of these stuff, actually, I looked up the actors and actresses' names. Like you see, these are all the actors you see from Saw 3D right here. Like they're screenshots from the movie. And I get that, it's from the movie, screenshots. So we're just going to ignore the fact that, how are these pictures available from that universe? Sometimes you got to suspend a little bit of disbelief, but I just try to make do what I have available in the time there. That's just a gif of Billy that I found online. But yeah, this episode right here, I tried my best not to incorporate footage from the Saw films because, number one, this is a blog style, so I don't want to incorporate, footage from the Saw movies. But at the same time, I wanted to be respectful of the franchise and avoid all copyright strikes, stuff like that, at the time in the early days of YouTube when they're still really big. So, but I still use the music. Like this music right here, I believe is Trap Attacks that's coming up later on, the background music. So it's another one of Charlie Clouser's tracks. Really bummed I didn't make the top 10 soundtracks for our Sawtober thing this past year, but it's still a good song regardless. But yeah, we're going to talk about right here, bringing in the character of James Bell, which again is played by James Scavo. James does a really good job, and the purpose of this character was just to create a character that, we saw in the last episode. Bryn is someone that Jacob would talk to from the Jigsaw Rules website back then. Someone that's a follower of the beliefs, the messages, and the ideologies of John Craver. But also, through the Jigsaw Rules website, there's going to be people that we want to touch upon that, that get off on the traps. Kind of like what Eleanor Bonnefeld was referenced in the 2017 Jigsaw film, where even like Holleran says, like there's some stuff on there that people just, are real sick, real wackos. Or they could just be posers on top of that. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with the James Bell character, where he's a photographer, and he's one of the photographers that actually used to work for news outlets. He's kind of inspired off the movie Nightcrawler, where Jake Gyllenhaal, if you haven't seen Nightcrawler, just go check it out. It's a wonderful film that came out in 2013, I believe. But even the VPN, Video Production News, is kind of a spoof off Nightcrawler. I almost said Knight Rider, but David Hasselhoff, that's another fun one. But, yeah, so that's kind of what he does. So these pictures that you see right here going off. And James Bell is the character that, I get spoof of Tobin Bell. That's how we came up with the name, James Bell. This actually was going to be my character's name for the pilot episode, James Bell. That was my original character going to be, but then I foolishly put my real name in the opening credits of the episode, and I realized, oh crap, I better stick with Jacob Walton now. So but then James Bell was originally going to be my character's name through the Jigsaw Blogs, but we ended up giving it to James Scabo right here, and again, he does a great job, like, going on right here, talking about stuff, and, he's one of those people that just gets off and enjoys the traps, and I like the line where he says, I enjoy, looking for the puzzle pieces when I look for Jigsaw's victims, and he doesn't care, he has no empathy to any of Jigsaw's victims, and he's a little tussle with, the Jacob character. So basically, the plot line, hopefully people caught that, was that James is a photographer, and because the Jigsaw attacks were happening again, he was looking to showcase, his artwork and showing Jigsaw skills, but at the same time, he's thinking he's using Jacob right here to showcase the photographs of all the trap victims that he got from the Jigsaw Rules website, or he's been putting on the Jigsaw Rules website for years, and then he's using that, get more credibility for his, production company, Video Production News. That's actually a quote I got from Lex Luthor in the comics. So yeah, I'm a little comic book nerd, so you can see right there. But that's a Lex Luthor line. But I enjoy, working with James. Little fun fact for you: James does make one more appearance, and I think he appears in episode 10. And unfortunately, James, I talked to him. Like 3 or 4 years ago, he made the decision to retire from acting. So if you hear James in audio tracks background, it's just archive footage. I totally, completely understand. He just one of those deals where he says, I appreciate the time. I thank you for the opportunity. It's just that acting is just not for me, which I tried so hard to convince him, hey, no, you do a really good job. People gravitate towards you. You're very entertaining. He appreciated the comments, but I understood also, life just happens. People just, fall in love with different things. So James, you're listening to this. We thank you for all you did and your contributions for this series right here. But wish you all the best. So, what we'll probably wind up doing is we're probably going to hold off on the James Bell character until season 2, and then we're going to try to recast him on top of that. But if James does change his mind, he's always welcome to come back to our series. But so this will be the I think this episode and episode 10, and he does get a little archive line I think in episode 15. But yeah. Again, James, we appreciate all you've done for us, and we wish you all the best. And so, but getting into this episode, this one right here, victims number 2 and 3, Masaku Aito and Ronnie Navarro, people who are casual Saw fans that see this, I never heard of these two. What are you talking about? These two were never in an acid pulley trap. These two were actually mentioned in the Saw 2 video game. So if you go to the Saw 2 video game, there is a case file, I think, fairly early on, where it talks about, Tab was going through, and it mentions Masaku Aito and Ronnie Navarro, how they were K2K and the Blood Diamond games, and that's kind of what I use right there, because even though the audience, never see this victim, it also explains, the Billy doll, and some people, one of the questions people had in the Saw franchise is, how in the heck did Mark Hoffman get a copy of the Billy doll for the Seth Baxter game? Because especially the Billy doll was not used and was not created until later on to, say, the Amanda tapes or even the early Jigsaw games from the 2017 film. But how are the cops going to be able to get footage of the Billy doll? So what I did was I took the 2 victims from the Saw 2 video game and incorporated that footage from the Billy doll there, and that explains, since Mark Hoffman came in working early on and he started working with the Seth Baxter case, he was able to pull footage from the Billy doll from those cases early on that's referenced in the Saw 2 video game. Because that's when Detective Tapp joined in. He joined in around the time where Masaku Aito and Ronnie Navarro came in, and then he investigates Cecil Adams, on top of that, Mark Wilson and Paul Lee. And that's why I try to do that. So that's a way to explain the continuity error from Saw 5 through the video game. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do with this series was, if I could help the Saw franchise explain some continuity errors in my own way, I'll try my best. And that's kind of what I did right here to the audience. So if you're diehard Saw fans that have one of those continuity error issues, kind of explains right through here in this little scenario right there. So even though I'm a fan of film, I try to help the series the best I can. I always agree with all the decisions they make in this franchise. But yeah, Donnie Greco, such as Oraculis right there. From Saw 1, I try to explain a little bit his character, why he was tested. And we get in right into Saw 2. Yeah, Jigsaw front and center, reference to the Saw 1 video game right here on top of that. Adam Statenheit referenced him. I'm going over trap victims. I'm not going over people who survived, just so that's in the next episode. We'll talk more about that. Great shots in the bathroom. Again, Whitehurst and St. Psalm. Yes, I went back to, as I said in the last video with Bryn, I played the Saw video game. I guess 87 people. I counted like 87 dead bodies that were in the video game. Because literally when I played the video game, I really just took my time and it just explored all the walls and all the dead bodies, all the traps, and all the people that Tat fights off in the movie. I think it kills like about like maybe like 60 people on top of that. But that's kind of what happened right there. Sydney Bristow. Yes, that's an Alias reference right there. Saw characters that just have one names. I just gave, last name like Alex Henson. That's a name off of one of the kids I teach at school. So if you hear like last names that Saw characters just have first names, I just give last name of just like people I know, like friends, family members, or people that just I know in general. Just give them a shout out. Dina Myers, one of my best friends. Josh Myers, gave her last name right there. So yeah, just little things like that. So if you see last names for characters like that, just random last names that pop up, it's just people just I randomly give names to or something like that, just from personal experience. Just give my little people a shout out. Saw 2 video game, we just mentioned that last episode, numbers 98 through, I think it was 134 it was, yeah. And I decided to go with the storyline for the Saw 2 game where I did the ending where Campbell survived instead of Michael Tapp. That's the ending I go with. I know there was an alternate ending with Michael Tapp being out there, possible Jigsaw accomplice. I know that was an option in the Saw 2 video game. So the ending I decided to go with for the series, I went with the path of, is it flesh, I want to say? Yeah, I think the Path of Flesh, which is, I think Campbell Emmons thing from Saw 2 video game. Those who played the Saw 2 video games. If you never played a Saw 2 video game, you don't know what I'm talking about, which I apologize. But those who did play the Saw 2 video games, you're welcome. That's the ending I go with right here. Now we get into the actual Saw 2 movie. Yeah. So these photos right here, like say, just from still shots from the movies, or just so you can find online with all the actors and actresses. I put them on the wall. Again, shout out to my wife because, like say, this room, the photos, I kept these photos on the wall in that room for 18 months. It originally was going to be like 2 or 3 months, but ended up being 18 months. So, yeah, I apologize. But, yeah, a year and a half of those photos being on the wall in my room in there, or in the guest bedroom, in our old house. We moved since then, but this house was from our 2019 to 2021 house that we rented back in. What I did, I used wall tape so that we didn't miss our walls. It was a rental house at the time. So, but yeah, looking back on these are camera shots from Saw 2. Just go ahead and looking at that right there. Trying to give some things that we talk about. Yeah, I take the time because even though you've seen them, I see as people watch this, they think back and they go, "Oh yeah, this happened in Saw 2. Oh yeah, this happened in this character," and it's a good refresher for the audience for all the movies that we talk about. And I'm pretty sure we hit them all and stuff like that. But if we don't hit the characters you're thinking about this episode, either wait till like the Fallen Officers episode or Jigsaw Survivors, then we touch upon them. So again, this is a very exposition heavy episode where we explained all the stuff right here in universe and stuff like that. And I tried to do it in my Troy Baker, yeah, just like the voice actor. Yeah, I know someone pointed that out. Yes, Troy didn't have a last name. I decided to give him Troy Baker like the voice actor. I was like, yeah, why not? I like Troy Baker. He's awesome. But yeah, some of these photos I actually messed up because I think this picture of Troy right here is actually off somebody else. So if I did mess up some photos, then yeah, it happens. Sometimes continuity is an issue. But yeah, there's a note. Yeah, photos from there. It's kind of cool how we got all that stuff right there. And that's why I try to make a little blogging feels where you just, camera shakes just a little bit in the background because it looks like, the Jacob character, he's an amateur filmmaker because, he's a teacher and stuff like that, but he's trying to do all stuff. I don't remember. It says Judge Halden, but is it pronounced Judge Hayden? It could be Judge Hayden, but I said Judge Halton in the show. But Timothy Young, yeah, the Rack. Oh, yeah. The camera footage from the Rack, yeah. I wonder if I ever do a future Sawtober, I should do just best trap performances by actor. Spoiler alert, if I ever do that one day, Timothy Young, the actor who plays Timothy Young in Saw 3, probably number one, because he gives the best performance of a guy in a trap, in my opinion. Yeah. Oh yeah, the Linden shot collar trap. That might appear in the finale. Just a little wink right there for those who pay attention to this commentary tracks. You might see a trap from Saw 3 in the season finale. Just a little hint right there. Trevor Rustin, yeah. I think that's his actual name, but yeah. From the Mausoleum trap in Saw 4. Yeah. I forget how long this episode is too, but it's very expeditious. And it was really hard trying to keep everything, the audience in focus because, if you're watching this, casual Saw fan is like, okay, he's in Saw 4, when's he going to get to Saw 5, when's he going to get to Saw 6, when's he going to get to Saw 3D? I try to showcase some cool things here, like, they see Eric Matthews and just little things like that, try to keep the audience engaged. But, I think it's good just while I show this and talk about this, I try to answer questions, and I try to establish the world building, and I try to create some things right there. Ivan, yeah, from Saw 4. Yeah, that trap was pretty cool, but I think it's a good little callback for people to go back and they think back, oh yeah, I remember this trap. I guess, by the way, I should get my thoughts on these Saw 4 traps, they were pretty good, like say. I'm trying to think of some cool traps, which Saw trap movie had the best traps. Saw's 2 traps were really good, brutal in that regards, and Saw 3 just upped the ante too with their traps. I tried to go back in my Sawtober traps. I was really, stuff on the original traps. Like, I think the reverse bear trap was my favorite trap. The rack was up there too. I think the pendulum trap made it also in the list. I can't remember. I just did my own top 10 list. I don't even remember what the traps were. I have to look them up. But now we're into Saw 5. I feel like Saw 5, just because it was directed by David Hackle, who did the production design, and he's familiar with all the trap stuff like that. The traps in Saw 5 were really, really brutal, in my opinion. Like, really brutal. Like, the pendulum trap was pretty bloody and brutal. The saw and the hand blade traps, that was really disgusting. That got me in the theater. The crushing wall traps. Again, even though Strom is a victim right there, he's not mentioned because, his character wasn't known. It wasn't known, like, how he died and stuff like that. It wasn't mentioned. So that's why he's not mentioned on the list right here. But, yeah, all this stuff right here, only 3 victims from Saw 5 right here. And I mentioned Britt Stevenson and Alex Scott all survive. Just go from there. We talk about it a little bit more in episode 9. And we get into Saw 6. Saw 6 was a pretty brutal one, too. The smaller. This trap actually did make. I do remember this one did make my list. I think it was near the bottom of the list because I think Tanisha Howard did a really good job in this one right here. It's actually kind of full fact. Tanisha Howard actually retweeted one of our episodes when we got to episode 9. She was excited to watch it, and she reached out to her, and she actually reached back and said, hey, that's pretty cool to see, there's still fans that still love the movie after all these years later. So, Tanisha, if you do watch this, hi, thank you so much for the compliment. We appreciate the shout out and everything. So, give her a follow on X or Twitter and her TikToks and stuff like that. So, yeah, Umbrella Health. Yep, that's the thing I bought for Etsy. John's claims denied, stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Rejected. Yeah, Hank. Again, that's just Hank. I gave the last name Strawman. It's a popular name in the area I work at. So, the crushed oxygen trap. That was a pretty brutal trap too. Yeah. I also like the photographer. The camera trick you hear. That's actually Adam's camera. That sound effect from the Saw 1 game. So when you hear the camera sound effect, that's actually from Saw 1, the Saw 1 movie. So I try to keep a little continuity thing there. Alan Jones, stuff like that. Jones, AJ Styles, those wrestling fans out there. I think back to the pictures from Saw 6 and stuff like that. Yeah, I'll zoom in close, just little things like that, make a little crime scene, stuff like that. Some people wondering, how'd you get these photos? Like, James, James Bell, the photographer, he finds his way to get through all his footage. Someone's got to take the pictures for the crime scene. People are trying to get scoops for the newspapers and stuff like that. Yeah, Debbie Kane, the lawyer. The spike trap from the steam room, that's a pretty good trap, too. Going back, you really appreciate all the production design people and all the work they do and stuff like that. The carousel. The carousel trap did make it. It did make. I think it was number 10 on my list, and the reason why people was like, it is such a good trap. Dave Winslow, Family Matters reference. I did use Josh Myers. I used Myers twice. Yeah. So, well. Myers same place, but yeah. Shout out to my Best Buddy Josh up there from high school. But some of these names I use from Dave Winslow, from the guy who played Family Matters. Yes, I gave him the name Winslow, just a little wink to the show, because, hey, Tar Abbott. George Newbern, yeah. George Newbern, I love George Newbern. That was in Saw 6. When I saw it in the theater, I freaked out. And he actually retweeted me back on Twitter, because I brought that up. While I was sitting watching Saw 6 in theater, he was talking about, someone asked him about Saw 6, his time there, and he said he had fun time there. When I was in theater in 2009, I looked at the person I was sitting with at that time. I was like, oh my God, George Newbern. They're like, who? I was like, that's freaking Superman, man. That's Superman. Of course, he voices Superman in the Justice League animated series. So, and George actually liked that post on Twitter too. That was awesome. Finally Saw 3D. Yeah, in that corner of the room right there. So, Card Trap, created by Hoffman. Now, I try to lose little sticky notes. I go back and try to read all the stuff from the sticky notes. My handwriting, yeah, I see the handwriting. Evan Bennington, yeah, as a nod. Chester Bennington, yeah, I give him that. But, yeah. A shout out to, Chester Bennington, RAT, and all that. But, yeah, the card trap was a brutal trap. I'm surprised I didn't put that on the list either. It was a pretty good trap as well. It's probably one of the most brutal traps in Saw 3D. Yeah, Bobby Dagan game. We'll get to the book later on in the next episode, but Bobby Dagan wasn't one of my favorites. I love Sean Patrick Flannery. Wasn't a fan of this character, but I love Sean Patrick Flannery. He's a good actor and stuff like that. But yeah, these traps in Saw 3D. Saw 3D traps really didn't get enough love in my Saw best Saw traps countdown list. It should have, honestly, looking back on them. When I really think like the spike trap, that was the fish hook. That was brutal. That got me. And then the spikes of the eyes in 3D. Again, that's another good trap as well. Yeah, that was a brutal trap. Suzanne's trap on there. But, yeah, Saw 3D's traps, I guess I don't get enough love and stuff like that. And I know I hate on Saw 3D in my faults. Looking at you, Gibson. I kid. People really think, man, I really hate that character. It's just that you say it's your final Saw film, and then you give us a character like Gibson, where you're trying to take this film series seriously, and he's just hams it up so much. Again, Chad Donnell, nothing against the guy, I'm sure he's a sweet guy. And looking back on, probably I was a little too mean to the actor and all that. And again, it's nothing personal and stuff like that. It's just I wasn't really a fan of the performance and stuff like that. And stuff makes me mad. I kind of learn as I get older and stuff like that. It's easy to jump on the hate train and be like, oh, your acting sucks, or this thing sucks, or it's so horribly animated. It's like, you're watching me right now, like the production values I have on my show. Like, look at it's nothing even compared to these movies right here. So, again, as time goes on, I tend to be like, be more nicer to films and stuff like this. Because at the end of the day, I know how hard people work on movies. Trust me, I'm writing, I'm editing, I'm directing, I'm acting, I'm doing all this right here on top of it. I know how hard it is. So, again, I encourage everybody, it is just a movie, so try to be supportive of any horror projects. You could disagree or cringe or be like, that wasn't very good, which, I get. I get it personally, but at the same time, just try to be respectful of everybody's work and stuff like that, because people do try their best and try to put on a film as best they can. So, but it doesn't mean we'll call them out on their mistakes, though. You still call them out on their mistakes, though, but still be courteous about it, though. So we do reference the Jigsaw movie right there. People going missing right there. But yeah, these are still shots from the movies, yeah. Little stuff like that. Oh, man, I wish I had a better picture of Mitch right here. And I guess to the last part right here, the board. The decision was, I went ahead and did this little outtake. People wondered, like, whoa, what's going on? Why is his mom calling? Like, no, nothing really didn't happen. But I wanted to incorporate, the Jacob character does have some flaws, whether it be, him ignoring his mother and stuff like that. And I wanted to establish, character flaws with this guy. Because, Jacob is, doing a lot of exposition, but we, the audience, don't know his character. So with just little teases each episode, I try to incorporate, mannerisms of Jacob's character. How he can be a little snarky and stuff like that. And since he's like in his mid-20s right here, he's just still messing around, like, not thinking about his family and stuff like that, be a little snarty. So, but I think it'd be interesting to see how this character develops in future episodes. I'll talk about it more. And I appreciate you all so much. Thanks again for watching. Tune in to our next episode of Commentary Tracks. Take care, guys.